Three. Oh.
That introduction never gets old, I tell you, especially when we mess it up 5 times through it. But folks, welcome Thursday Night Live with the boys, Soaring Profits, Patrick and James. Were you dancing? I kind of missed the dancing.
I was dancing.
It's so hard to find good people, I tell you.
Yeah.
These days. It's terrible. But folks, welcome Thursday Night Live. NFL draft night. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I got the little ticker scrolling in the top there, seeing who my Cleveland Browns, who will not be selecting tonight at all, because we decided to trade away for a quarterback that had a little problem with touching ladies. That's a problem, I guess, but that's for another night. Maybe we'll leave that one somewhere else. But folks, we have been super thrilled to be joined tonight with our guest, Darna Murska. And we met Darna when we were down in Orlando, Florida with the Healthcare Amplified Summit down there. And Darna was the master of ceremony. How do we put that exactly? What is the gendered language around the master of ceremonies for an event like
Mistress.
that?
The mistress of ceremonies.
There you go. We'll just leave that one. She'll correct us later, but she was totally the host.
And she did the whole time we were in Orlando.
Yeah, the entire 4 days that we were down there. But she was the hostess with the mostess. She made everyone comfortable, and she took a first-time event like that. Approximately 80 to 100 people. Nobody had ever met them, before. It was kind of you walk in, kind of a stranger danger type scenario, walking into a lot of this stuff. And she made everyone feel super comfortable. She was advocating. She was talking about community. And one of the really unique things that, we really loved about her was just her overall personality, the way that she sells herself, her ideas, and makes everyone feel a part of a community. And so, Darna, you are the Explant, Empowered Explant founder. And that's kind of a unique thing. That's not something that you hear every day. Darna, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is the Empowered Explant, that community, how you started it, and why it's super important.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. That was lovely. And had such a great time at PodFest and Healthcare Amplified. It's a lot of fun with you guys. Empowered Explant. What is explant? That is a word that some people know, and if you know it, you know why you know it. But basically, explant means the removal of breast implants. So implants goes in, explants, they come out. Right. And Empowered Explant it's a podcast that I started. It's also a community, a support platform, website filled with resources for women who really are on the journey of either exploring what their symptoms are about, or on the journey of looking to remove their breast implants and really want to get informed about the process and find themselves in a supportive community.
So Darna, how do you, first of all, you're a very young woman. How do you find yourself in a situation after having breast implants? Why would somebody have them removed? What does that look like? How does that come to be? I am a fan of boobs, right? I am a fan of boobs.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Right. So what is this whole deal? Why would you ever get them removed? What does that look like? And why would there be a community based around that sort of thing?
Yeah, really good question. And thank you for the compliment on being a young woman. That was a nice one. I am nearly 36. So
oh no.
I am a young woman.
Of life. Jesus.
I am a young woman, but
I gotta start hanging out with the older people. This is sad. God. Yeah, you're ancient. That's why you're wearing a sweater, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off, but you guys
But
drive
I'm
me
very
nuts.
wise compared to when I was that young woman at 23 years old and decided to get breast implants. And, at the time when I got them, like I said, 23 years old, I thought it was a great idea.
As one does.
Yeah, right. I was like, bigger boobs, sure, that's going to solve all my problems, all of them. Like
Yep.
the cheating husband, all of the things. I can go get a job, all the things. Not that I had a job, but I was like, I want to make more money. Boobs will help with that. I was living in Hollywood, didn't help the decision making there. And I thought that this was a good choice. I, like most women who get breast implants, went to a reputable surgeon in Beverly Hills. And I didn't hear anything that was alarming at all, or that made me think twice. And, I had them for nearly a decade, just shy of a decade. And for the most part, I loved them.
Right.
I wore them loud and proud. Um, they helped me in a lot of situations. They boosted, I think the misconception is that that they boost your confidence, but it's more like, for me, it was like they became my confidence.
Hmm.
And they were kind of like a Band-Aid fix for all the problems that were going on in my life, really.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I did I got jobs in nightlife and in the nightclub scene, and I made great money and I made great tips, and I got the attention of men that I wanted and all of these things. The wrong men for the most part, but and they seemed really great until they weren't.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna say that I didn't enjoy them, because I had a great time with them, with the twins. We did our thing all over the world. We did our thing, and it
Yeah.
was fantastic.
It's actually interesting you say that, because I talk about something similar. So I lost a ton of weight, and when I lost the weight, I thought it would solve all my problems, much like you, solve my marriage, my job would be better, I would be healthier, and people around me, other than the few people like Pat who thought I had cancer because I lost a lot of weight very quickly, were giving me all kinds of compliments, and it was this very superficial feeling of, I have made it. I'm
Yeah.
doing well,
Mhm.
except for the people that I really wanted compliments from, like my wife, or, the things that were really important. Like when I looked in a mirror, I still was not happy. Is this kind of the thoughts that were going through your mind, that, yeah, sure, these people think that I'm great, but I still don't see that, like, nothing's changed. I still have the same mind. I still have the same hangups. I still have the same things I have to overcome. My body doesn't change that.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't it so interesting how we had such complete different experiences, but it's so similar. Yeah, I can relate to that. I think, realizing that it didn't change how my husband treated me, didn't stop the divorce from happening. It didn't land me like the amazing, hopefully rich husband that I wanted at the time. It, it didn't it didn't cause me to resolve all of those emotional wounds that were inside me still.
Right.
What
Yeah.
it did do is it distracted me from that. So when I did go to get them removed, which we'll get into why and what that looked like, but when I did go to get them removed, all of that emotional shit that I was carrying was still there. I still
Yeah.
had to deal with it. So, and I think that that's like the big lesson from all of this is, you know, if Band-Aid fixes, they seem great until you rip the Band-Aid off and that wound is still nasty.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it might even be festering and be infected by this point. Like you have to address that.
Right.
Because it does not go away. So yeah, that
You
getting them
you
out
almost,
allowed me to do that.
and I found, because that distraction, it's like an alcohol, like it's like an addiction. When people start seeing you as this really handsome, beautiful woman, whatever, you lean into that. And because you lean into that, you're leaning into people that you shouldn't be leaning into, because they're
Yeah.
the people that are sure giving you what you want to hear, but they're not giving you what you need. And I think that's what you were referring to with those men.
Oh, it's exactly right. I mean, and not only the men, but also like the lifestyle choices and the jobs that I had. You know, I worked as an atmosphere model in Vegas. Like I was getting paid to be at nightclubs entertaining groups of men, you know, at clubs and pool parties and things like that. And basically because I was a walking set of boobs. And um, you know, that at the time, like it didn't hit me until later. And I realized like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. And then what's
Yeah.
left? Like if I'm not this, what am I?
Right.
Who am I?
Yes.
So you have this emotional piece that, you know, you're clearly working through. You're finding yourself in a situation where this unwanted, well, not unwanted, but the wrong type of attention is what's coming down the plate, sort of.
Mm,
But you also have the underlying health issues that are kind of growing and
yeah.
festering, like you discussed there earlier. So
Mhm.
maybe you could talk a little bit about what that looks like and some of the health things that had changed for you afterwards, and some of the research maybe that you've done since then that have pointed directly back to, you know, the implantation, having these artificial members on your body that are implanted internally, and how that has taken a toll on, you know, your hormonal health and all that sort of thing. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, I didn't even really realize all of this until later in retrospect, like the emotional piece of it. Um, and it really was so, you know, why do women explant was your question earlier. Like, why would somebody young with these great set of boobs, you know, having a great time, why would you get them removed? And so um, there is a term called breast implant illness.
Mhm.
And that is like an umbrella name. This is kind of how I reference it. It's an umbrella name for a long list of systemic symptoms that occur at some point after having your breast implants put in. And that could be very soon after if your body responds quickly in that way to them, or it could be years down the line. It might be 5, 10, 20 years down the line that these symptoms start popping up. And you know, they're caused by typically inflammatory or toxicity responses in the body.
Mm.
And so for me, initially there were more physical things that were showing up for me that kind of started me going, ugh, like I'm going to have to do something about my breast implants. And at the time, I didn't know about breast implant illness and I didn't know if I was going to replace them. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so it was things like uh, my boobs got really heavy. My body was changing. They were kind of dropping. These things were heavy. So just naturally, they started becoming heavier and lower. There was stretching of my skin, and I was noticing stretch marks happening. My posture was shocking. Like they were just pulling the rounding of the shoulders. So I had really bad neck and back pain. And I had a lot of numbness and tingling and pain down my left arm into my hand. And so it was those physical things that started me researching, started me thinking. And from there, it got worse. And I didn't know that it was related to my implants at all, but I had really bad brain fog and cognitive issues. Like I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation with you guys. Seriously, my
Right.
speech was terrible. I couldn't put together sentences. My memory was awful. Chronic fatigue, joint pain, random skin conditions, uh,
And
muscle
this isn't a
atrophy.
situation where your breast implants popped or were defective or anything like that. This
No.
was literally an immune response that your body was having to an otherwise healthy situation that 99 out of 100 times
Mhm.
could be a normal for anyone else. This is something that affected your body. And then you're realizing that this affects more and more and more people. Kind of in your
Exactly.
research, how many, like, what does that community look like as you're building it out? What are people, what sort of percentages are people affected by this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do have some fun, quick facts that I can pull
You
from here
would.
and
You
talk about.
would.
I know that, well, the last time we spoke, you kind of asked me a couple questions, and I'm like, "Ooh, I want the numbers
Well,
because I want to reference accurate data."
there you go.
Um, so I did pull those, and the way that I learned about breast implant illness was because, like I said, these things were happening physically. So I started researching about breast implant replacement. And then, I mean, your phone's listening to you. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
decided to start showing me things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boob
And
implants in Turkey was a huge thing over Instagram for a while, I'm sure, right?
well, just wait. After this conversation, all you're going to see is stuff about breast implants on all of your
That'll be
devices.
very upsetting for Pat.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Shit. I'm gonna have to
Right.
have Darna back on.
The
Oh,
great
my
thing, Pat, is that you'll be able to say it's because of Darna.
Right.
It's not me.
For once. For once.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, no, but
You
that's
do.
what happened, and it popped up on my Instagram, and a woman was sharing about breast implant illness and her own
Wow.
symptoms, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
Right.
those are my
Check.
symptoms. And I was at the time, like, I was a health coach. I got certified as a health coach back in 2019 after my Vegas party era and turning my life around. And I'm like, I'm doing all the right things. This has to be it. This is the answer. So you're right. I didn't have a rupture or anything. My implants were fully intact. But at the time I was like, I felt like maybe I did have a rupture because I was so sick. So some quick facts. And I can't tell you how the percentage of women that have breast implant illness, because I can guarantee you that there are hundreds of thousands of women out there who have no idea that this is what's
Sure.
causing their illness, that have
You
never
you
even
are
heard of this.
Hopefully
you are
they're
not
watching.
the first person that I've experienced in my life. And we talked,
Mhm,
about this when we were down in Florida, is that
mhm,
I knew someone that had this exact same scenario, was a bodybuilder, was in fantastic physical shape, had otherwise a very healthy lifestyle, and was absolutely drained, had
yeah,
no energy, had no drive, was just really emotionally drowning in so much,
mhm,
and her health was awful. And
yeah,
she is the specimen, and was just so sick, and eventually had them removed, and now lives a totally different lifestyle, and is healthy
mm,
and happy, and doing such an amazing thing. And it was sort of unique in my experience when I talked with you, because it was kind of pulling back, the curtain a little bit. It's like, I thought, like, what a slap in the face to take what is happening here as a guy, right? I'm an ignorant pig, I get it. But that was like, I don't understand this. Like,
You mean you weren't completely supportive and understanding of
well,
everything? No?
well,
Okay.
well, yes, of course I was in, like, this, 2024 Me Too movement. Of course I had to be, but it's so obtuse, and we've had 35 years, really, probably 40 years of mainstream breast augmentation that has been safe.
Mhm,
It has been easy. It has been more and more and more affordable, which I think a lot of that comes into
yeah,
play when you have these younger and younger and younger demographics that are getting into this,
mhm,
body image issues that we have. As kind of a girl dad, I look at those things and I always kind of wonder what that looks like. So, you talked a little bit about the emotional side and what
yeah,
sort of led you to that. Is that it was going to solve all your problems? It was going to be, how you got the better job, how you met the better people, how you push yourself through that. But maybe you could talk a little bit about, when you find yourself preparing for the surgery to have them put in, was having them removed, like, that was never even on your radar. Like,
mm,
why in such a short period of time are you like, they have to go? This is killing me.
yeah, yeah. Well, definitely. I will share there. I just want to share that there are around about 3 million women in the United States with breast implants.
Wow.
Right.
In 2021, 311,000 women put them in.
Wow.
In 2022, 255,000 women put them in. That's a decrease. It's an 18% decrease.
Yeah.
It's nice. Fan of that. And in 2022, 65,000 women removed their breast implants. Well, should I say there were 65,000 explants? I don't know if all of them were women specifically, but
Right. So with those like those are pretty big numbers. So with those numbers, when you went to your doctor and said, I'm getting ill because of these breast implants, he obviously was like, absolutely, that's what's happening. We're going to help you out. Right? That's what you would expect
and
from those.
I'll be
numbers.
honest. I'll be honest and say I did not go to a general practitioner and say, hey, my breast implants, I think my breast implants are making me sick. I didn't do that.
No.
I think as a health coach and as someone who plays a lot in the functional health realm, kind of knew better. and after doing my research in this space, understood that this was not something that is really supported by the medical system currently. With that said, though, the FDA actually they issued a boxed warning on breast implants that women don't see because we don't see the boxes that our breast implants are in. So that's pretty dumb.
Nope. You're unconscious during that time, aren't you?
Right. But there is a boxed warning now. And there's also a recommended patient decision checklist that cosmetic surgeons are supposed to walk through with women, which is explaining that around about 51% are reported to have capsular contracture, which is where the scar tissue around the implant contracts and causes a lot of pain and different issues. There's rupture or leaking reported in 31% of women who get breast implants. I mean, these are really high numbers.
Yeah, that's not 2%.
No,
yeah.
There's 59% of women or of implants, there's a need for reoperation. Breast pain is reported in 36%. Skin, this is a big one, a personal one for me because it happened to me. Skin or nipple sensitivity changes or loss, 35%. Like, that is insane. I'm sorry, but as 23-year-old me, and I had very sensitive, lovely nipples, and if the surgeon was to say to me, hey, you've got 35% of not having all this anymore, 35% chance, I'd be like, wow, those are really high odds. But instead it was like, oh no, there's this very, very tiny chance of, that was never even a conversation.
Is it because there is such a lucrative cash flow industry here? Like, we've created this cosmetic cottage industry that is billions of dollars a year around the world. And, when you have another story that's, there's an emotional side to this, there's a physical side to this, there's a number of issues that we probably should be digging up. Are you stepping on, big medical? You're stepping into an industry that they just shut up. Like, we don't want you here to have a voice.
Oh yeah. This is all politics. This is all big industry politics and money-based for sure. Because I mean, these companies who manufacture breast implants, they also have a lot of other products that the medical industry is using, and they're all in each other's beds and pockets. So it's, this is really, at this point, it's lovely that the FDA have acknowledged this, and that at least like they are acknowledging that we aren't crazy, that this is a thing. And I love that because now women can take this document which is linked on my website, and they can take this document to their doctor and say, well, actually, doc, the FDA says that this is a thing. So please take me seriously and do your own research before you quite literally call me crazy.
Yeah. We've had some debates as well.
Sorry, what was that?
You've had some debates and discussions
Yeah.
Yeah.
around this topic where you're bringing up facts, you're bringing up information, and how have they went? How has that been received?
Yeah, I get a little passionate, but it's hard not to when like I've
Yeah.
got this community of women and myself included, and my mom went through it. She had hers out, and I'm just witnessing the change in these women when they have them removed, and how this is such a transformative journey in their lives, and how these implants are killing women slowly. It's like a slow, torturous death because it just strips you of your
Yeah.
life force bit by bit. It's horrible until you get to the point where you just don't feel like yourself anymore. And then these symptoms that fatigue and things like that. Like if you are somebody who is genetically predisposed to having autoimmune conditions, for example, this can trigger all of them. So now all of a sudden you've got autoimmune conditions being diagnosed. The FDA also acknowledged that there is a significant risk of cancer, breast implant associated anaplastic large cell
Wow.
lymphoma. Goodness. Um, a mouthful, but and it's actually associated with not only textured implants, which is the more common, but it is also associated with smooth implants. So all that to say, if I was handed this document and this checklist and given all of this information at 23 with all of this included, there is no way, I don't care how much I wanted a job in a nightclub and to get back at my cheating husband, there is no way I would have been dumb
Yeah.
enough to get breast implants. Not to say, and I don't want to put anyone down who still chooses to do that. That is
Sure.
absolutely a choice. But I do want to say, be as informed as you can, go through that document and understand what you are risking and what you are potentially giving up, and what those trade-offs are, and do 6 months of therapy at least, like at minimum. I'm
I think
serious.
it's also important to note that where we started, which is it's not going to solve your problems. Like
Exactly.
you have to solve your problems by facing your demons and go doing that inside work first.
Mhm.
There's no point in doing it if you think it's going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
Moving towards your explant.
Yeah.
So there must have been a lot of emotions going on because you're probably not like 100% sure that this is going to fix your problems,
Yes, I
but
have
it
a whole
will
podcast
remove
episode about that.
something. It will remove something that you liked, that made you feel good.
Mhm.
And I imagine they were a little bit like Virgin Mobile, where they're like, I know you want to cancel, but we have something else that we could do, and it's going to be better, and there are way less risks. How do you mitigate all of that when you have that kind of stress that you're exhausted, you're tired, you still haven't done that inner work, you're facing your demons, and you don't know what afterwards is going to look like?
Mm.
How did that go through? And I imagine you had to pay, which is another kick in the
Right.
boobies.
Exactly. You don't think about that when you put them in, like, oh, I'm facing, another 10 grand to get them out at one day, or another 10 grand every decade to get them replaced consistently. You do not think about that. But yeah, it was terrifying. It was scary because there was that constant thought of like, oh, what if this isn't the cause? But I do have a whole podcast episode on this now, because now I see it so differently, because I know that scientifically, even if the implants aren't necessarily the cause, the inflammation that they're causing in your body is going to make everything else worse.
Right.
So overall, you're doing yourself a favor regardless, even if you've got other health conditions that you do need to focus on. But it was scary. I think, and there were other options that I was faced with, like, do I get a lift? Don't I get a lift? There's fat transfer for more volume. There's all of these other options available. I went to an amazing surgeon who believes in breast implant illness and actually doesn't place implants anymore. And he only focuses on helping women remove them, which is
That's
incredible. Yeah. And
You
there's
can say
several
his name if
surgeons
you
who are
want.
doing that now. I'm
You
sorry?
can throw up his name, give him a shout out if you like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went to Dr. Dev at Aqua Plastic Surgery in Miami. He was amazing. And I have an interview with him on my podcast. He's just an incredible man and a great surgeon. And so, that's one step. I recommend like going to see a surgeon who is compassionate to what you're going through so that they don't just try and upsell you to the next set of implants. But I think connecting to my why was really important. And I started the emotional healing before I had the implants out. So I knew that there was work there to be done. Like, why did I get implants to begin with? Oh, no, but really why? Not like, oh, I did it for myself. Like, no. Like, I hear that one a lot. Yeah, but I did it for myself, or I'm doing it for myself. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you're not. Like,
Yeah,
if you were alone on an island and there was no one else and no other influence, you would think that you are the most beautiful thing. You wouldn't even care,
No.
right? About
Yep.
anything. You would just be you and you'd be okay with that. So it's always being influenced by something. Even if that thing came from childhood, which a lot of my stuff, when I started doing that deep work, like I'm like, oh my goodness, this stuff started coming up from like when I was 10 years old. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So really doing that emotional work, starting it before so that you can be at a place by the time you're getting your implants out to be like, okay, I've kind of gone there. I've healed some of those wounds, or at least faced them and got a deeper understanding of myself. Because when you remove your breast implants, it's a whole nother set of emotions and a whole nother set of, it's a journey, and it is a journey, and it's not something that goes fast. And, that's why I think coming into a supportive community and looking at this like, oh, this can be a transformation for me. This can really impact so many different areas of my life. It's not just removing the implants. I think that that's like just one of the first steps to how you can really heal yourself from this. And I mean, my surgery was over 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that you say that. I had the same thing. I had to go back and like I had all these voices in my head that were very negative, and they weren't my voices, but I thought they were. I thought these voices that attacked me every day. I don't mean voices like in the crazy sense that Pat always thinks. I mean like these thoughts in your head about your body and self-image and how ugly you are and stuff like that. But it's funny because when we first met you, you were strikingly beautiful. And that's all we saw. And then your personality shone through that made you like 10 times more beautiful. And to think that at any point you had these negative, and I'm sure some people feel that way about me, that at any point you had these negative self-doubts.
Yeah, that you're so beautiful.
That I'm so beautiful.
Yes.
I am. I'm a pretty boy. That you had these self-doubts is shocking.
Yeah.
It is shocking to a lot of people, but you're absolutely right. No matter what you're doing, if you're changing your life, if you're losing weight, if you're getting breast implants, if you're whatever you're doing that you think will change your life forever, you have to do the work too. If you want to go run, you want to go exercise, none of this stuff will fix your problems. The only thing will fix your problems. You have to love yourself to a point that it does not matter what anyone says or does. You're still going to love yourself.
Yes.
And when you don't have that, it really doesn't matter. You can jump out of a plane and for that 30 seconds, you're going to feel amazing. You will. But after that, it's just, no, nothing's changed. This is my same old life. So you're on the other side of this surgery. It was successful, obviously. Thank God.
Yes.
And so now you're faced with a whole different you likely in your head. I'm not saying you had a whole different you. You were probably the same beautiful person you were before and after, as far as I'm concerned. But I imagine in your mind, there was that little switch of, I'm not the same person anymore. Is that like a thing? And then what would you do for that?
Yeah. Actually, you know what was interesting? I remember feeling like myself again, actually, for the
That's
first
cool.
time in a long time. It was like I reconnected spiritually, emotionally to the younger self that I had lost when I decided to make
Right.
that decision. And it was so special that like it brought tears to my eyes because I thought she was gone. And it was like by removing my breast implants, I kind of also removed and forgave that period of self-loathing and bad decisions and um, that constant need for validation. And I kind of let all that go in that moment. And it went along with my implants. So, yes, I was a different person with them and without them, but I was just actually me again.
That's cool.
Um,
Wow.
so it was really cool. There were a lot of very special uh, transformations that came through removing my implants, and um, I think another big one is just like learning to respect my body so much more than I ever did. Like, oh, all the choices I make actually matter, and the appreciation I have for my health now. I mean, it makes me I will analyze everything, every choice that I make to make sure that I'm making the right choice, that it's not going to harm me or harm my health. Um, so that's been a big one. And um, just this self-awareness that I've been able to develop in the last 2 years has been incredible. I think you're just able to um, I remember a couple of things. One, everything felt so much more vivid. It was like I had been seeing in black and white for a long time, and then all of a sudden I could see in color, like the color had been switched on. So like all of my senses came back to life, and I just felt like I could see again.
Mhm.
And then another moment which just brought me to tears in the moment was I felt my heartbeat for the first time in I don't even know
Wow.
how long, obviously a long time, but I hadn't been able to feel my heartbeat. And I just remember standing there with my hand on my chest, feeling my heart beating, just bawling my eyes out. I mean, just how much you take for granted hugging people you love
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feeling them against you, like flesh to flesh, like, but you don't just feel it on the outside, you feel it on the inside. You don't feel that when there's plastic, when there's these
Wow.
silicone bags inside your chest. So I feel like heart connection with yourself and with other people is also something that you lose that you would just never think of.
Right.
Yeah.
That
It's an amazing journey you've went through, and then you talk about with such passion, and it's a white knuckling, if you will, of all of this process that you went through, and then you've created now. Well, tell us about your podcast. Tell us about the community that you're building, growing, developing, and allowing people to sort of bypass some of that, again, that white knuckle, like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy experience with some of the process that you've already been through, because you're talking about a spiritual journey, a personal
Yeah.
journey, and a physical journey. There's a lot to this,
Yes.
and you're kind of making some shortcuts along the way. Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about why it's important, and then the community around it that you're building.
The podcast is fun. It is, and I'm not just biased, it really is. But it's great. Go listen. It's it's uh it's special because it does touch on all of those elements that you just said. And it's we don't just talk about like breast implant illness and symptoms, even though we do talk about that, but I like to think of it as we approach this holistically,
Yep.
and it's a podcast that you can come to really early in your journey when you're just kind of researching this and seeing if this is something that you might be affected by, Or if you're deep in the research phase or the planning phase, or you're about to hit surgery, I mean, there's really great expert interviews on the podcast. There's also amazing interviews with different company owners who like specialize in red light therapy, or stem cells. I kind of like to talk to different people about how their technologies could help us specifically in this community. So it's really very holistic. There's also some great, there's a beautiful pre-surgery prayer, some meditations. I fully go into my story. I am very open book on my whole journey. And then we also interview some other breasties. We call them breasties,
Not besties.
my breast friends.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we hear from other breasties in the community about their stories as well. So it's the podcast is awesome. And I definitely recommend binging that. And it's also a great resource for after explant as well.
Where do we find it? How do we see it?
Yes. Go to basically, there are 4 things that I really recommend that you do if this is news to you or you're already kind of on your journey. Binge listen to the podcast. It's called Empowered Explant. You can go to my website, empoweredexplant.com. Everything is there. When you're there on that website, you can also download my free symptom tracker. It's great because you get a full list of all the symptoms. You're able to sit there and check them off and see, how this could be related to any health conditions that you might have. And download my 33-step explant planning checklist. It's free. It's like I took my journey and I put it in a checklist because I just had so many to-do lists and so many different, it is a stressful, overwhelming process. So I just put it all into a list, and then join the Empowered Explant Facebook group. And there you have full access to me and a beautiful, supportive community of women, of breasties.
I think that's the best part about your story. Like, I think you went through it. You could have just, okay, I went through it. Now I'm going to go back to what you really do, which is publish books, right? And you're successful at it and you're good at it. You could have just went, okay, bye. I'm fixed. I'm good. But instead, you did what is so important for people who are struggling with mental illness, with illness in general.
Yep.
You developed a community.
Yeah.
Now, I always ask this about people who do this. Was there a point, two questions. The first one is, was there a point that you were like, I don't even know why the hell I'm doing this anymore? Like, this is ridiculous. It's not helping. It's not doing anything. And was there a point at which that you're like, a moment happened that was like, oh my God, this is all I ever should do?
Oh, I love this question so much. Okay. Yes. Interestingly enough, yes, I have my business Books and Brand where I publish books and all of that good stuff. But like I said, in 2019, I became a certified health coach, and I'm a board certified health and wellness coach. So when I went through it, I was like, huh. And the way it happened was, I decided at the time to kind of pull together a group of women who were explanting around the same time as me so that we could be supportive to each other. And we were all going to the same surgeon. And then I noticed more women wanting to join and more women needing support in different areas like detox and anti-inflammation diets and fitness and just all of the pieces that I'm trained in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the universe took me exactly to where I was supposed to be with this. Mm-hmm. This is why I became a health coach. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I had that revelation kind of early. And then it was just a process of like building Empowered Explant, building the community while also having, you know, a full-time job and all of those pieces. And there have been times where I've gone like, oh my gosh, like, am I just talking to nobody? Hello. You know, just I'm sitting here in my room with my microphone. Like, is anyone actually listening? I'm really tired.
Well, to be honest, we aren't real. This is all going on in your head. Sorry. We weren't really in Orlando. We don't exist.
The boobs are gone, but
oh my goodness. No, I'm glad you do. And I'm really glad to be sharing this message on your platform. So thank you. But I do have those moments sometimes when it all just feels like a lot and I'm really tired.
Yeah.
And then I receive the most beautiful, it makes me tear up thinking about it, but I receive the most beautiful messages from women often, whether it's in a DM or an email, that like tell me how the podcast has completely helped them on their journey, or like been the thing that's gotten them through, that made them not cancel their surgery, that gave them the strength to get through it, that led them to learning about breast implant illness, and it changed their life. I mean, the messages that I receive, that's my why, and that's what keeps me going. So I know it's making a difference. I want to, if I could just flick a switch right now and be doing this full time, I would 100% be doing that, because I know that, you know, with 300,000 women a year putting them in the United States, and 65,000 women a year taking them out, there is so much work to be done here.
Yeah. And you're doing a fabulous job. One, because I've watched the show, and it's incredible how heartfelt it is from a personal experience. And it's all knowledge that, you know what, a lot of the knowledge would help anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to do with breast implants always, right? Like you were saying, a lot of the knowledge would help everyone, but it is also breast plant specific. And we are in a world where we feel so alone. The communities have broken. Like we don't have church picnics, and we don't have block picnics, and I don't even know my neighbors. Like I know their names and I say hi, but you know, there was a time when we did.
And we're Canadian.
So that when you were going through things, you had a community around you. Even now with family, we move so far away from our family that we can barely talk to them. You know, we have all this great technology that helps us, but that's not the same as, like you said, a hug where you can feel a heart. And what you do is you build that community and you make it a beautiful thing. And I can imagine that there is story after story of people who have saw what you've done and are better for it. Is there a story that you can share? And I don't know if you can, because personal stories, I get DMs myself that I don't share because they're personal, and you know, it's people seeking help and they don't want me to share that. But is there a story that you can share that maybe someone out there would hear and go, you know what, I identify with that, and you know, you could help them too? Does that make sense? Am I even talking?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Yeah, there are messages that I absolutely keep in confidence, especially with this being a medical field. But I'm going to share my mom's story, because I think that this is also a part of my why, and why I went through this. Because when I was researching this and getting my breast implants out, my mom said to me when I was in recovery from my surgery, I'm going to die with mine in. And she was so dead set on it, because she couldn't imagine herself like without them, because she identified with her breast implants so deeply. And so after seeing my recovery and my healing, and it was amazing, because within 3 to 5 months, all of my breast implant illness symptoms were gone. and I was a new human.
That's cool.
And my mom started thinking, oh, maybe some of these things that I'm experiencing are related. And the more she kind of went down that path and uncovered, she was like, before I knew it, she was like, I need to get mine out.
That's crazy.
And that was like, that right there was worth everything I had been through to hear to save my mom.
Yeah.
And she got hers out at 57. I think she would have been when she got hers removed. And so this story, I want to inspire women who have had them for a really long time, she had hers for 23 years. She identified with them to the point where she thought she was going to die with them in her body. Mm-hmm. And then after doing some research and finding a surgeon that she felt really comfortable with, and having me in her corner, obviously, to help her through this whole journey, which I had just gone through.
Yeah.
She is she's aged backwards. I was honestly afraid that she was like getting some kind of early onset dementia. Sorry, Mom, when you watch this. but her memory was shocking. Yeah. Like just the cognitive impairment that she was struggling with. It was scary for me to watch. And just, I think that was like the major thing that I was seeing in her that I was really concerned about, but she had a ton of other symptoms as well. But oh my goodness, now like she's doing so well. She's aged backwards. She's going to F45 gym 5 days a week at least. She's crushing it. Like she's on the top of their leaderboard and she's one of the oldest in the gym.
I love it.
She's starting her own nanny agency right now. Like she's starting her life again right now in the way, like she lost years to not feeling well. And all she would say to me is, I'm getting old. It's just age. It's just age. This is just what happens. And I'm like, no, I don't believe that. That's bullshit, because there are tons of older, very healthy people out there crushing it.
Look at James.
Exactly.
Except I don't have the mental capacity to remember things, but still, yes, look at James. Yeah. So that all being said, I'm cutting you off, Pat, because I don't care.
What else is new?
You just shot fired. If you're going to call me senile, I get to talk. No, but all that being said, where do we fall on that line? Like, I understand because we've had conversations by the pool with maybe a cigar or two.
I wasn't smoking them.
No, I didn't say you were. I didn't say I was smoking them. I just said there was a cigar or two hanging.
Why are you outing me, you sons of bitches? I do, you people.
No, but so I understand you've debated doctors who fall on the side of no, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Where do you fall? If a woman came to you today and said, you know what, Darna, I want to get implants. I think they're the best thing. It's going to change my life. It's going to be incredible. Would you hazard against it, or do you think they're still a great thing for some people?
I don't think that they're a great thing for anyone. And I can say that very clearly. I think that there is going to be side effects regardless of who you are. Mm-hmm. They are going to have some negative effect on your health. So I can't say that they're a good thing for anyone. If somebody who is, somebody comes to me and they don't have a great reason, and I mean like a really great reason for getting them, then I'm going to be like, you should absolutely rethink this. There are so many other things that you could do to improve self-esteem and self-confidence and find that self-love, that start there at least. Yeah. So I'm very against breast implants as a whole. And I can't not be, just given everything that I know. I think where it becomes challenging is women who have had, double mastectomies or, maybe even one breast removed and now they've got that asymmetry. So I think that is where it's super challenging, because now it's like, it's an emotional journey on a whole nother level. This is not just like oh, my boobs aren't big enough. This is like I just had my breasts removed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's
so
a core of femininity that's a problem, and they're trying to figure what that looks like on a deeper level. Yeah, I can see where
yeah,
that's a thing. Yeah.
The only thing that I would think would be comparable for a male is if you had to lose your penis due to cancer or something. It would be very tough. Like, even if you go to the point of, the future, where you might be not infertile. No, you can't get it up. What is that called? Erectile dysfunction.
There we go.
That's it. See, my brain doesn't work. Erectile dysfunction. That would be the only thing that I could see even be comparable. But
yeah.
is the risk worth it still? Like, so
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it is, because ultimately and it's hard for me to speak on this because I haven't been through it. So it's very
we're
difficult.
conjecturing.
Yeah.
This is not like, we're not recommending, we're
Yeah.
not deciding anything for anybody out there. It's your choice. You do what you want.
But go in, because let me tell you, your femininity and that energy that exists from within you, that is not breast related. It's absolutely not. So I follow incredible women on Instagram who have gone through that and who are rocking it and chose not to get implants. There are other options available too. So speak with surgeons who support the idea of not putting implants in, like my surgeon, for example, Dr. Dev in Miami. There are potentially, depending on if you are eligible for different surgeries, just based on physical condition and different things, and your cancer. So look into other options like fat transfer and different natural options first. I just explore every single possible option before you decide that, because it is said that women who have had breast cancer are more likely to suffer from breast implant illness symptoms.
Interesting.
Like, think about it. Your body has just fought something. Fought for your life. Your body's just fought for your life and has been fighting something that it doesn't want in your body, right? Fighting those cancerous cells. That's finally gone. Your body now has the chance to heal and be healthy again. And you're putting something foreign in it that now it has to fight again, something that's going to cause chronic inflammation. That inflammation is going to have an adverse effect on your health. So it is really comes down to vanity or my health. At that point, that is the question.
It's interesting you say that whole thing, because I dated a woman for a short period of time that had one breast because of cancer. She had the scarring, and one of the most feminine people I know. She was beautiful, desirable. I found her very sexy. I enjoyed her company, and like, it, you notice at first, definitely you notice at first, but after a while you don't notice. Like, it doesn't matter. It means nothing. Like, it absolutely means nothing when it comes down to it. Like, it's still this beautiful, desirable woman that, you can dance with, you can laugh with, you can make meals with, and you can do the other things with. And it's still amazing, but it's because of her mindset.
Yes.
Like, I ended up after a while, asked her, and she was like, because I didn't need to. And I was like, wow, like that, like, I was expecting some other answer. Like, I couldn't, like, that's the answer. Why wouldn't you want to? But it's because I didn't need to. And I wasn't prepared for that answer. And you know what? And she's a powerful, wonderful woman that is going to go places. And unfortunately, it didn't work out with us. But I just know that you can carry on if you can heal that inside first.
Yeah.
Right?
The confidence. That's confidence. That's true self-confidence, not this Band-Aid bullshit breast implant stuff. Like, that is where it comes from. And that is that divine feminine energy and the sources within. And if you can access that, then I mean, that's really what you need. So it's still a tough decision. I come back to just getting support and and really connecting to your why and what's important in your life. Think about your children and your future and your grandchildren, or whatever it is in your life and what that looks like, and think about what's going to be important to you in 10, 20, 30 years time.
Yeah.
And also important, go to this website.
There you go.
Check her out, because I'm telling you right now, this is a miracle. One young woman, she became one of the honorary Soaring Prophets while we were in Orlando. We had such a good time. We went and had sushi. We hung by the pool, and we plotted trees and a whole bunch. And we formed a little group around us, as Pat and I often do. And you know what? It was like she was always there. She is an amazing, heartfelt woman that can easily hang out and joke and slay with sarcasm, as have those deep, important conversations that are so important to, you know, to have that connection with a friend. And I do, Darna, consider you one of my dearest friends. I think you're amazing and incredible. And I know you're going to do good things. This thing is going to take off more and more and more because of the women that are helping you by telling you their stories, by seeking that community and raising each other up, because that is the number one thing. If you're facing anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're facing a darkness, find a community. Go talk to someone. I say this over and over and over again. If you're out there right now and you think you might have this illness caused by breast implants, reach out to Darna. Go check out her website. You don't even have to talk to her. Go check out her website. There's enough information, enough videos, enough stuff. The Facebook group, you can be a fly in the wall and just watch them talk. And that in itself will make you feel like you're part of a community. And once you feel like you're part of a community, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Darna, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It is a beautiful story. You are one of those champions that we unveil the stories of, because the darkness that you must have traveled through to come to the other side, to be empowerment for other women in probably one of the most toughest experiences of their lives, to almost virtually hold their hand while they go through it, is not only a beautiful thing, but a much needed thing in our world right now, when we are so divided and there's so much hatred over silly things. And I love that you're bringing people together as opposed to separating them. Thank you for coming on Soaring Prophets. Soaring Prophets out there, we got a lot coming up. We got a couple of shows that are in the works. We got 2 locked in now. 2 locked in. Before we were like, maybe they're not happening. 2 locked in. You're going to be really excited. There are great hosts. You will kind of maybe see Pat or I on them, but there's going to be other great people on them that you're going to learn to love, who also have their own shows that will be pretty amazing. I look forward to revealing them once we get closer. And there's some other things in the work. We have the Toronto Humane Society coming up that we're going to unveil their story. Who doesn't love puppies and cats? I don't like cats, but whatever. We won't tell them. Thank you so much for coming. Darna, you're the best. Honest to God, you're the best.
You just blew the contract. We're out of Toronto. We're fucking done.
Let's get our minds, bodies, and souls together. And even if I don't like cats, it's still okay.
It's a 50-50 shot. It's puppies and cats. And you just alienated 50% of our audience. Thanks, pal. In this business, you can't be doing that. Darna, like James said, we fell in love with you down in Orlando. You have this endearing quality about you. You light up a room and you bring people together in a way that's really unique and special. Healthcare Amplified would not have been what it was without you. You were pivotal to that success. Yeah. And maybe, some of the things that we got going on with Healthcare Amplified, we might have to have you back, maybe help out us a little bit. But it was a great time in Orlando. We've gotten to know you. We've gotten to embrace the beautiful person that you are, both on the outside and obviously very much so on the inside. And it's been a pleasure tonight. I thank you so much for coming here, and make sure you check out explantpodcast.com. From me, folks, let's make some money together. And Darna, this is where you send us off with a little bit of inspiration for the profiteers out there. One way of sending us off. What is your piece of advice? What is if you're dying tomorrow, this is what you're telling the world. That's what we leave you with every time.
No pressure.
That's exactly the point. It's our gotcha question at the end of the hour.
Being our good friend,
Yeah.
you knew this was coming because you've watched all our
You've watched
shows
all
right to the end.
Every episode. I know.
Right to the end.
Okay. I'm going to say that life is short, and I don't want to sound morbid, but really live each day, because we don't know how long we've got, and hold on to what's truly important. Stay connected to what matters and your values, and lead with love and all of those good things. All of the other crap doesn't matter. Just live today truly, in a way that, I mean, really, if it was all of our last day, we would all quit our job and like just go have a party. And we can't do that necessarily. But live with intention.
I love it.
I love it.
Here.
Thanks.